How's it going, grinders? Welcome back to another ProGuides Apex Legends video. My name is Zephyr, and for today, we're going to be taking a look at the best team compositions for Kings Canyon in Split 2. But before we get into it, you know what time it is. For the question of the day, I want to know what legend you love to play with the most on your squad and why. Drop your reply in the comments below. For our first composition, we have Gibby, Wraith, and Valkyrie for you. But how exactly do these legends help you climb on this map? Let's briefly talk about the issues with Kings Canyon for that. Points of interest are super close to each other, and whatever you do, you'll get third-partied almost immediately. Taking that into consideration, you have to be able to either rotate fast or fortify yourself to gain a brief moment of respite. With Gibby in your squad, things certainly become a little bit easier. Doming up and then shield swapping or quickly healing surely become more likely with that kind of assistance. It's also a blessing to have a beefy legend peeking for you when you're in dire need of it. Sometimes it's invaluable to have a fortified legend delay the enemy's onslaught for at least a little while. Pairing up this absolute machine of defense, it's never a bad idea to add a rotational legend to the mix. In this instance, we have two of those. Let's start with Wraith. We want this legend in our squad so we can safely pour her out of dangerous situations throughout any stage of the game. More than often enough, you'll find yourself stuck between multiple squads and your only hope is going to be that lovely portal. Exactly this is the moment in which you'll fall in love with Wraith, especially on the third-party map that's Kings Canyon. Even with the teammate down, it's not the end of the world as it gets significantly more dangerous for them to just ape you when they have to go through that port. Players usually think twice before going through because you never know what waits for you at the other end. And to make sure that you're also able to overcome any issues with the circle, you're almost always going to find a Valk in the best team compositions for this map. With the danger of constant third partying, POIs being super close, and the map being so small, you'll understand the necessity of having a Valk. Overcoming bad circle RNG, being slowly surrounded by enemy squads, and rotating far away from the action to gain some free RP is something Valk will always help you with. Another feature of hers is having access to high ground not all legends can get to. Utilizing that ultimate ability for rotation towards that height is a power move that every pro player loves. Give it a shot and you'll be positively surprised. Before we continue, here's something I have to ask you. Do you want to improve fast? Then you should most definitely check out ProGuides.com. We feature a great course when it comes to fundamentals, and if you're in need of advanced coaching to hit that next level, take a look at the amazing coaches we have, and you won't regret it. Do you want a comp that can play edge for kills or late for points? You'll be surprised when you hear about the next suggestion: Gibby, Caustic, and Valk. With the necessary mobility on the squad in the form of Valkyrie, it's time to get a little bit toxic. Everybody agrees that Kings Canyon is a menace when it comes to third-partying, weird rat locations, and a lot of funnel places that everyone should avoid. But what about legends that love to fortify their position? Specifically, Caustic made himself a name on this map. The legendary Caustic bunker will always be remembered as a death trap. When you're playing with this comp, you can use funnel places like that bunker or stairways to farm some KP. Some lost souls will always pass by and grant you some free RP for your troubles, but you have to be very mindful. If you don't know that you're going to be the first ones in there, I recommend not walking into those funnel places. Even the most experienced free stacks will fall victim to those narrow corridors. Turns out missing shots in those is quite hard, and if you have to deal with environmental stuff on top of that, you're in for a lot of trouble. But let's talk about the versatility of this composition. If you practice it a little bit, you can easily play edge of zone in the late game for points, especially when we enter the later stages of the game and the zone pulls towards buildings. Caustic will prove to be invaluable. I know if Caustic isn't spammed that much, people tend to forget about the absolute nightmare this legend can turn out to be. Have you ever tried rushing into a Caustic building, and do you remember how it turned out? I certainly don't need to advise you not to try that, unless you literally have to, or know everything you need to take them down. But don't forget, the map is awfully small, and every second you waste battling a squad will open up opportunities for third, fourth, and maybe fifth parties to join the fun. The third comp I want to talk about is Fuse, Caustic, and Wraith. Contrary to the other comps, this one features the ability to defend and assault buildings. Wraith takes the typical slot of the rotational legend here. If you're not happy with her, you might also substitute her with Octane or even Ash. Octane also doesn't feel too bad on Kings Canyon, as the area is usually a little bit more narrow and all the buildings allow him to actually utilize his jump pad without getting fried midair. But let's talk about Fuse here. His passive Grenadier allows him to stack an extra grenade per inventory slot, and he fires those faster, further, and with absolute accuracy. You can even track the trajectory, making it really nice to smoke out buildings. The true game changer, however, comes in the form of the Knuckle Cluster. It sticks to any surface or player and forces them to vacate the premises. So whenever you're facing some head-glitching wingman demon, launch the cluster bomb and take aim to immediately blast them. And how about some insane combination of ultimates? As Caustic, throw your Nox gas grenade into a building to force rotation. And if that isn't enough, add some grenades to the mix and abuse Nox vision to gain intel. If they're running to the nearest exit, Fuse can either plant his Knuckle Cluster or prepare the mother load in advance. Being hit by the initial blast of that hurts as it is, but being forced to run through the fire is almost a death sentence. Touching it deals a massive amount of damage and inflicts a DOT effect, and if that wasn't enough, this ring of fire burns for 17 seconds. So you got gas on the inside, fire on the outside. Sounds like a deadly pairing, right? Well, I'll tell you what, it's the perfect mix to deal with all the RP rats on Kings Canyon. Chipping into the same niche as the second comp, we have another squad focused on fortifying their position. They're also capable of somewhat dealing with the third comp. Here we have Valk, Gibby, and Watson for you. With all the action in and close to buildings, Watson's perimeter security can help delay people from rushing you, especially as we enter the later stages of the game. Her ultimate, the Interception Pylon, gains massive value. It's able to destroy an incoming Caustic ult alongside all incoming ordinances. Those include nades, Bangalore's Tactical, Fuse's Knuckle Cluster, and even other ultimates such as Horizon's Black Hole. For your game plan, you'll most of the time rely on Gibby and Valk during the early game. Their power is surely going to make up for any of your weaknesses at that stage of the game. Especially the Valk and her jetpack really offer a lot of power during early skirmishes. Just make sure not to fly too high, otherwise you expose yourself to a lot of angles and most likely will find an untimely end. Nonetheless, you can still be an absolute menace at hot dropping. Be an absolute genius when it comes to placing those fences on the fly. As we enter the late game, it's time to buckle down and find a building to set up base in. Drop those fences and your ultimate ability and let your team peacefully shoot at everything in your way. Your ult will recharge up to 250 shields anyway, so make it count. In addition to that, don't feel forced to sit on that ability for too long. Any ultimate accelerant you find will immediately full charge your ultimate, so therefore dropping the pylon whenever you're skirmishing in a affordable spot is a plausible choice. Now what if a fight looks troublesome though? Just pop the dome, cling onto the Valk, and peace out. You don't have to fight a losing war, just go to the next location and make use of your composition's unique strength elsewhere. Last but not least comes the fifth comp, Wraith, Bloodhound, and Gibby. Since we dove into the other legends previously, let's highlight the Bloodhound here. I've said it multiple times before and I'll say it again. Fight on Kings Canyon and you'll invite all the people on the map to pay you a visit. To turn into one of those visitors, however, you will find Bloodhound to be your best buddy throughout the game. Their signature ability of being able to track footprints is a powerful tool when it comes to reading the flow of the game. Knowing what can happen before it happens is something that makes the difference between consistently placing high in a game or dropping out early. If you combine this with a few other helpful pieces of advice, it's going to be a piece of cake to gain all the RP you need to reach the next rank. Avoiding overcrowded places such as Central Hill, which is located southeast of containment, is one thing I wish I knew from the beginning. You're open to so many angles that you can never dream of covering. Fighting there is suicide. Rather, focus on getting the high ground, especially the buildings close to repulsor and containment. From there, you'll find it easy to defend and rotate when it's needed. Don't forget, as a general piece of advice, 5 KP is all you need. You don't have to thirst for more than that. Placement matters a lot, and you'll find it easier to abuse positional advantages to hoard that KP. Obviously, being well looted makes everything way easier, but nothing is as easy as shooting at enemies while Beast of the Hunt is active. You're in control, and you're 30% faster than usual. Use that speed to down people in sequence to extend your ultimate ability. Before I leave you though, here's something that most people tend to forget. Don't over-focus on the most meta team comps, especially if you're playing in a 3-stack. Rather, Put in the time and figure out what playstyle you and your friends have and what legends support that style the most. While doing so, you should still follow a certain set of guidelines. Make sure that your comp is balanced. You don't want to be stuck without any mobility on King's Canyon. It's going to cost you, and it's going to be expensive. Next up, don't shy away from trying new things. Some legends such as Valk require delicate movement with their jetpack to really turn into that broken legend everyone hates playing against. Overall, give some of these comps a shot and let me know how it went. And that's it for today's video. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed what you saw here today, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. See you soon for more Apex Legends content.